Welcome to Living in Gratitude. I'm so glad you chose to push the button and tune in with me today. And today I'm going to share a story that about my life, about a 3-year period of my life that occurred around 20 years ago that frankly I've been terrified to share. In fact, I've made 4 or 5 videos just like this one in the past couple of years and posted them on YouTube and other social media platforms, and then I just took them down because I was freaked out, just terrified to share this. And I really don't know why. And maybe sharing it today with an open heart will reveal the reason. I don't know, but I'm gonna ask that we take a moment of silence, take a deep breath, and we can ask the universe together to allow this to be shared properly from my heart, and then also supply the courage that's going to be necessary to post it and keep it posted. So, thank you. Thank you. All right. So, 20 years ago, I was going through a dark night of the soul. Not going to get into the circumstances of that, maybe another time. But I was living in hell in my mind. I was having looping thoughts. I know this to be ancestral trauma, conditioning, you name it. You know, all these. I didn't know any of this then. That has been revealed. I also had a lot of just stress in the nervous system, and I was crying myself to sleep every night. There's a lot of grief, a lot of sadness, a lot of loneliness. I felt so alone, so hurt. And the funny thing was the outside circumstances of my life were pretty good. There was plenty of free time. There was plenty of money, plenty of people that loved me and that I loved. Um, I was a spiritual person. I prayed and I, so I was just having a really hard time. And this magical thing happened under my breath at that time for about a week. From my subconscious, these words started appearing in my thinking, and I would speak them under my breath. They were almost like a mantra, and I would say, I got to shut her down. And what that meant was I need to find a way to shut my brain down. I knew that, I did know that, that it was the thinking, the attention, my attention was going to looping thoughts in the brain and in uncomfortable states in the body, meaning emotional states. And I couldn't stop doing it. And I didn't know how to stop doing it. And I knew that was causing all the suffering. It wasn't anything on the outside. I knew this. But I couldn't do a damn thing about it. So I started chanting, gotta shut her down. Gotta shut her down. And about a week later, after I started doing that, I would notice, in my car, that would just come out. I gotta shut her down, And about a week later, at a public place, I met a beautiful man, a kind soul, and I could feel his energy, and there was no judgment in his being, and there was just love, and I could feel it. And he told me that he had been a monk traveling around the world for about 20 years, teaching meditation and contemplative prayer all over Canada, Asia, Europe, Russia, United States. And he had taught, I guess, thousands of people, something that really changed their lives. I could feel him. And so when I met him, I felt so safe. I just told him what was going on with me, and I said, I'm living in hell. And he looked at me with a smile on his face, and he said, well, would you like that to stop? And I said, does a bear shit in the woods? Yes, of course, please, anything. I'll do anything. I literally was at a point where I would do anything to make this stop. And so he offered to come over to my house on my condo on the following Saturday, and he told me, be prepared to spend 3 hours with me on Saturday and another 3 on Sunday. And he came over, and he brought some people, some students of his with him. And they were wearing all wearing black, and I immediately was freaked out, and I thought this was going to be a cult. Cult alert, you know. And it made me very uncomfortable. At the same time, I was very familiar with let's call it. I was very familiar with God moments. Like, you know, I was able to create a business in the past out of nothing, and it just showed up sort of magically, you know. And so many people in my life had showed up in my life, you know, like angels, and I was familiar with this. I also was familiar with that uncomfortable feeling that goes with, I'm probably about to step into something where I'm going to heal, and I'm going to start letting go of stuff that doesn't serve me anymore. And oh my God, you know, I knew I had experienced a lot of that in my life, and I knew that. So I knew, even though I knew that was sort of my ego trying to find a reason, kick him out of my house, because it's like I was getting ready to face myself. I knew it. And so the first thing he taught me within an hour of being there is the most valuable thing I have ever learned in my life, and it's not even close. The most important thing I've ever learned in my life, and it's not even close. And it's this. He taught me to effortlessly shift attention from the suffering in the mind, the story in the mind, the suffering in the emotional body, to instantly, surgically and instantly and effortlessly shift attention in the moment to the truth. Still, silent presence. And it was felt immediately. It was experienced immediately when he taught it to me. And he taught me some really powerful techniques to use and to that worked, and to shift attention from the thoughts being all over the place to, you know, also the fixing, managing, and controlling, all of that stuff, trying to be better, trying to be a good person, trying to be all this stuff, you know, all this efforting, but to instantly shift attention to still, silent presence, where the body relaxed and stress started just flying away. And what was left was this joy, this innocence, like when I was a little kid, this freedom, this fully human, like all thoughts are welcome, all feelings are welcome. It was realized, and he was teaching me that all feelings and thoughts are just energy moving through. They're not. They only cause suffering when we pay attention to them and identify with them. And you know, I'm not my feelings. I'm not my thoughts. At the same time, they're part of me, and they're just temporary. They flow through, and what's left, what's always here, is that still, silent presence, peace that passeth understanding, that's always running behind the scenes. And that could be and would be experienced in every moment with practice. And then it was realized that, you know, I'd been practicing since I was born. The world was teaching me to turn my attention away from that, because when we were born, I was born this innocent little, happy little, go-lucky, funny, creative kid, like just always just like this, hey, and from day one was taught to shut that down, and that was too much for everybody. So they shut that down, and because their parents shut that down, and their parents shut that down, and their parents shut that down. You got to make something, whatever the conditioning is, and it all just fell away. And it's the most important thing I've ever learned, and it's the most important thing anybody could ever realize. It's not something you learn. You can't read about this and get it from books. You can't get it in school. It's not taught in schools. It's not taught in churches. It's not taught by our parents. And it's the most important thing we could ever learn. And from here, in this place, we can actually learn to think and use our brain as a tool instead of being at its mercy all the time. And our emotional states can be healthy, Sadness is a form of love, and allow it to be there, and then it moves through, and it's gone. Same with anger, same with rage. Love, and it was realized that love is the absence of judgment. That's it. I don't have to run around loving everybody. In fact, can be detrimental, actually. Run around trying to fix, manage, love everybody. That's another form of love, but a healthier thing is to just stay in this place, return back to this place with the open heart, where there is no judgment, there is no lack of acceptance. The concepts fall away, the spiritual talk falls away, the spiritual seeker falls away, and you're left with. I was left with who I've always been, and I'd been looking for this my whole life. Within the first hour, this guy taught me this. What a gift, huh? So, for the next 3 years, I sat in that condo, and I practiced this with my eyes closed as a meditation, sometimes 5, 10, sometimes 15 hours a day. And then with my eyes open, taking walks and going to the gym and going to the grocery store and driving, I would still practice developing the spiritual muscle, developing the mental muscle, the consciousness muscle, the muscle. Like, we're all taught in our society to develop our physical muscles, but we aren't taught to develop the mental muscle, the spiritual muscle, but we were taught to develop it in the opposite way. In other words, turn your attention away from presence, because our society is built on busyness and achievement and more doing and all this stuff, and we're really stressed out, and I was really stressed out. I was a mess. So I spent the next 2 years, actually it was 2.5 years, meditating all day every day in that condo. And during that time, there were many stretches where I would meditate and fast for 24 hours a day for like 3 days in a row. And I would go into these experiences where there was no me anymore. There's no body. I couldn't feel the body. I couldn't tell when I was awake. I couldn't tell when I was asleep. There was no commentary in the mind, no concepts in the mind. Just like a still, really perfectly still, but fully alive, blissful feeling. I imagine it must be what it would be like to be in the womb, the mother's womb, where all needs are met and cozy, and and there's no you yet. You haven't been named. It's before you were born. It's the experience. It's the experience before we are born. It's the God space. And in this experience, there's a knowing from within, deep within, that there's only one thing. There's only one of us here. We're all connected, but beyond that, we're actually all the same thing. Difficult to explain, actually impossible to explain. Words don't do the trick, but suffice to say that life force energy is what we are. The energy of creation. We are that which is beyond frequency. We are that which creates frequency. So everybody's worried about being at a high vibration, and or not worried, but the world right now is talking about, hey, we got to raise our vibration. There's some stress in that when we actually rest back into the absolute and beyond. We are resting as that which creates frequency itself. It's the absolute and beyond. It's there's no words that can describe it. Any words I might try to use to describe it would diminish the experience. So I had many experiences over the 3 years of removing myself from society. I would walk around town or on the beach where I lived, and I would just feel nothing. There's just love and joy and bliss. And I was trying to hug people all the time. I did hug people all the time. I allowed myself to, and I wasn't trying to renunciate, like I wasn't trying to get, do the non-attachment thing at all, actually. But what was going on is I was opening up, and what didn't serve would just fell away. And I did run myself completely out of money, and that served. It was terrifying, but I sat with that, and didn't try to go out and make something happen. I was healing, I was growing, I was evolving, and there was nothing that was going to stop this. It just continued until it didn't, and eventually I got opportunities. Eventually I started doing meditations in my home for the community, and a couple of owners of rehabs, alcoholism rehabs, asked me if I would come run groups at their place, and they would pay me, and I accepted. And I also play music. I'm a songwriter. I was a songwriter before I started all of this, but when my heart opened up, and I started writing songs from another place, and they just come. I don't have anything to do with it. They just come. Most of them are either poking fun of society or healing songs, and so I was able to use those gifts. People invited me. I didn't go out looking for this or market myself at all. I've never been much of a self-promoter, but I right about the time a little after the time I ran out of money, it was just a God thing, It was just the universe. It was bringing to me what I needed in a new way. I had never done that kind of work before, and it was really scary to walk in and do that, be vulnerable like that, and share my gifts. It was really cool, really cool. And so, I don't necessarily recommend anybody pull yourself away from society. Some people can't. It's just not, they aren't able to do that. I was blessed that I was able to do that, especially a mother. I've seen, young mothers, and I want to address that too. Young mothers that want to, or any mother actually, that's of any age. It's not necessary that you pull yourself away from society to do this. It is necessary for most people to take 20 to 30 minutes 2 or 3 times a day, and get yourself alone and close your eyes and turn the attention. Just gently turn the attention to gratitude, the felt sense of gratitude, appreciation, love, the breath, and allow stress to dissolve. In that 20 minutes, you will dissolve sometimes a whole day's worth of stress just in that 20-minute period, right? And it heals the body. You know, when we de-stress the nervous system, the body heals. And when we just de-stress the nervous system, the analytical mind and the male creative ethereal mind, which is the female, and the analytical mind start to get in balance. Consciousness drops down into the heart, and it's a flow state. And from there, we are so efficient and so creative, and we never know what's going to happen next. And we embrace that. I embrace that. I'll speak in first person. So in the 3 years, I also want to say that there were many times, I may have already said this, but there were many times when I was healing or releasing trauma, ancestral trauma, or conditioning out of the nervous system that had been trapped for many years, and I would go into deep sadness or crying and or anger and rage and have fits and just like it looked insane. If you saw me doing that by myself, it would look insane, but it would within an hour, maybe it would go on for 20 minutes, and then within 20 minutes after that, it was gone for it was gone forever. You know, I had been in so much therapy where we talked about this stuff, but it never went away. And then this was actually going away, you know. And there was, who knew? You know, I didn't know that it was about unlearning everything I had ever learned that was going to bring freedom, because the freedom was already there. I just needed to my eyes were impeded, you know. The world of the 5 senses, which I love, I adore the 5 senses, especially taste, because I love ice cream, is only like less than 1% of of reality. I think it's like a fraction of 1%. What's actually going on is beyond the 5 senses, and when we get in our hearts, out of the head, fully in our hearts, open heart, we are accessing that which is beyond thought, that which is beyond emotion, which is beyond 5 senses, and it's infinite. You know, I did a lot of astral travel around the universe and beyond. I had times, you know, again, the impediments. We are living in heaven on earth right now, actually. But there was a time when this exact same place was hell on earth because my vision was impeded. I couldn't see because of the trauma. The attention was going to the trauma or the conditioning or the things that I was taught or the unconscious programs running in the background. Just so many unconscious programs, you know. One of the unconscious programs that I have had, and it's the biggest one in our society, actually, and it causes the most separation, is this deep-seated belief that we are unworthy and that we need something from the outside to validate our worthiness, and that's what religion's all about. We're not worthy, so this entity from the outside is going to deem us worthy, and that's a trap that I fell into for many years. I believed all that. That was one of the hardest to believe, and it wasn't hard. It just started to fall away. And what was realized is that God is love, and that's what I am. It's within me, and don't need to do anything to get that. I don't need just need to allow anything that's blocking me from that to fall away, and it does fall away when attention is turned here. It falls away. All the pressure falls away. Everything I ever believed, for the most part, was untrue. Everything I had been taught, especially in the schools, especially by my parents, grandparents. Don't get me started about talking about what's on the internet or television. Oh my God. The intuitive nature of our soul, we can feel what's true and what's not. At the same time, the intuition isn't clear until our attention is on the truth, is on the heart, is resting in the heart. So in other words, if I'm locked up in looping thoughts and stressed out, my intuition is not going to be clear. So the ego will step in and claim that to be an intuition. However, if I'm present, if there's presence here, and the heart's open, the body's at rest, even though I'm wide awake doing stuff, the intuition's clear and pure, never fails. And we are led by that. I'm led by that. It's like, it literally is a magic carpet ride, and I just, stuff shows up, and I just say yes to the stuff that shows up. Embrace it. What a gift. The days of attaching and avoiding, it still happens, but for the most part, that's a thing of the past. The days of fixing, managing, and controlling, and trying to be a better version, it still happens, but very seldom. And the other thing that I want to share is that, and this was key. This is a real revelation when this was realized. Is that I've always said my thinking is can be faulty, or my thinking this or my thinking that. Right? Sometimes my thinking is positive or my thinking is negative, or there is no such thing as my thinking. And boy, this helped me so much when I started to realize this. We are literally like radio towers or antennas, and we are picking up, we're connected to everything, and we're picking up on frequencies and conditioning out here and in here and everywhere. And a lot of the stuff that's in our nervous system that we feel that's stressful has nothing to do with us. A lot of the thoughts in our minds we've picked up energy from somewhere else, and it's been converted into thoughts, and then the thoughts are believed, and then the stress in the nervous system, and none of it's real. The biggest example for me on this one is holidays. I'm not a big fan of holidays. Not because I don't like holidays. I think they're cool. It's just that people get stressed out during the holidays, especially Christmas and Thanksgiving. And as an empathic, open-hearted soul, I feel that even if I don't go around people. And sometimes I personalize it, and I'm like, well, I'm sad because of this or that or the other. And it's not true. I mean, we're literally picking up stuff from the collective. It helps me to know that, because sometimes I'll giggle and I'll be like, wait a minute, this got nothing to do with you. But there are so many people, so many humans walking around that are suffering. Their attention's going to this stuff, and it has nothing to do with them, but they don't know that. Especially if you're empathic, and everybody is empathic. Everybody on earth, every soul is empathic. Some are blocked with the impediments, and they can't feel because their attention is so, they're so jaded, with their attention. And when somebody gets jaded, then their empathy shuts down, or it's blocked. But they're empathic, trust me. Yeah. So this is what opened up during that period, that 3-year period of time. Now that I've shared this openly, I don't know why I was so scared to share it all. I guess it's the woo-woo stuff that happens. I levitated one time, and then my mind the next day stepped in and said, no, that didn't happen, but it did. And, I share stuff like that. I guess I've been terrified to share stuff like that, because we are not who we think we are. That's what I'm getting at. You're not who you think you are. I don't know who's listening to this or who's going to see this, but you are not who you think you are. And I can't say that enough. There are no limitations for anyone, any one of us. And the greatest gift of all is the ability to transcend the thoughts, the emotions, and at the same time be able to include, so transcend and include the humanity, which is the messy old human that we judge. And it's the most divine thing of all, the messy human that just can't get their shit together is the most beautiful thing in the world. Because when I don't have my shit together and I embrace that, I'm open to all kinds of beautiful stuff coming my way. I don't have my shit together. How you like me now? Right? But boy, when I've got my shit together and I'm broadcasting that, I'm pushing everybody away, man. I'm creating separation. But when I'm vulnerable, when there's vulnerability here and I don't have my shit together, there's unity, man. Because we can help each other, you know? That's what we do. We help each other. We help each other. Well, I don't know if I've got anything else to share. So that was the story of I'm going to say about 2008 to 2011 of my life. And life has literally been absolutely, it's built on further from there. I'll say that. It's continued to open up and expand from there. I'm astonished at what has happened and who we are and where we're going. I'm living in a heavenly experience. I would call that heaven on earth. And that's what's going on. Regardless of what I see out there, you know. Can't take it from me. Can't take it from you either. You can give it away. You can give your power away. That's a choice, but they can't. Nobody can take this from you, no matter what happens. No matter what happens. Yeah. All right, thanks for listening. Thanks for feeling into this. And if nobody's told you that they love you today, I do. Which is to say that love is what you are. All right, have a beautiful day, and we'll talk soon.